So Ian Fellows, who's been spotlighted on the screen, trade union lawyer. He works exclusively for the labour movement in Canada, and he's currently working, and he's been working for a long time, with the Amalgamated Transport Workers Union Local 113, which is the public transport workers union for Canada's biggest city, Toronto. And they're involved in a crucial fight over the extension of a proposed extension of driver-only operation, implementation of driver-only operation on Toronto's Metropolitan Transport Authority. And Ian is part of the team on behalf of the union members that are challenging the Toronto Transport Authority in the courts, and also running a very, very interesting campaign where they've got a wonderful website called On Your Guard, which has got videos, research, and explains the dangers of DOO to members of the public who perhaps don't appreciate what a threat it is to their well-being and safety. So he's been reading about the RMT's campaigns against DOO for a number of years. He's been in touch with me and others in the RMT to seek information about our successes and failures in some cases. And I'm really pleased to have him here to be able to talk about the work that he's doing with the ATU Local 113 in Toronto. This is our national conference of train crews and shunting grades, Ian. So this is a conference of the RMT that represents drivers, train drivers, guards, people who work in ground staff and shunting occupations, anyone who works with traffic of trains. And we are the industrial organisation of the RMT that is most strongly involved in the fight against driver-only operation in our union, and has been for a number of decades. So it's great to have you here amongst like-minded comrades. We'd like to welcome you and thank you for getting up so early to join us, because I know you've got to go to court later today. So would you like to address the conference?
Listen, I'm here to really talk to you about two things that I've been involved in. One is my legal case, which I'm bringing for the ATU 113 to stop driver-only operation here in Toronto, and also to talk to you a little bit about the media campaign, which I have to say was inspired by some things that we saw happening over in the UK from the RMT, and that helped us to launch our own campaign. So in Toronto, we have an underground system. It's not as big as London's, but you get the idea. Our underground trains have two-person crews and have always had two-person crews, a driver and a guard. The Toronto Transit Commission, like many of the transport authorities, wants to save money by dumping one of those crew members. It looks like their plan is to dump the crew member and hire more managers, who can hide out in their little cubby holes in various stations, doing whatever it is that the managers do. So we've really had a two-track strategy. One is my legal case. The other is a public campaign. And I want to share with you in a few minutes some of the things we have from the public campaign. Our legal case really revolves around health and safety. I won't repeat all those arguments to you. You're going to be familiar with them. Very broadly speaking, it's the lack of a second crew person to deal with emergencies, to provide customer assistance and help when they need them, and to be a focused person who is responsible for train dispatch, and to make sure that there are not any passenger train interface issues like trap and drags or so on when the train is departing the station. You'll be familiar with those sorts of concerns. One of the things that we've done in our legal case is we actually went and had a look to see, we all know that distracted driving, that is having a driver looking at a video screen or talking on a cell phone while they're doing something else, operating a vehicle, is looked down on significant fines if you're caught doing it. And that really raises the question of, if it's not safe for drivers to be doing two things at once on the road, why would it be safe for somebody operating a train to be doing more than one thing at once? And of course, our answer to that question is not safe at all. In fact, having a driver responsible for both ensuring that the train can move forward on the track safely, while at the same time monitoring video screens to see if there's anything going on at the platform train interface, is an example of distracted driving and is more likely to lead to a driver missing a state of affairs and someone being injured or killed. We actually have gone and obtained reports from industrial psychologists who deal with things like distracted driving, divided attention, as well as inattentional blindness. That is, I don't know if you guys talk about, we talk about tunnel vision, or tunnel hypnosis when the drivers are driving, that it can be so monotonous that you can start doing things by rote and not even realizing that you're not paying proper attention. So in our legal campaign, we have been calling evidence. We've been calling expert evidence. One of the very interesting things that we realized is that, in fact, the train companies have imposed driver-only operation without any study, without actually any demonstrable proof that driver-only operation is safer or better or even as safe as having a two-person crew. And this was really highlighted in my own case when the Toronto Transit Commission, once we started our case, their version of discovering whether or not it was safe was basically to send an email to train operators all over the world and say, hey, you guys having any problems with driver-only operation, or how is it working out for you? And needless to say, many people didn't respond to them. The ones that did said, yeah, everything's good. No authority could actually provide good statistics, or really any statistics, on, for instance, trap and drags, pre-driver only operation, and the incidence of trap and drags post-driver only operation. So there's just a total absence of evidence. The only reports we're aware of, or studies that have ever been done, were done recently under the auspices of your RSSB, which of course is an organization that is an employer organization. Only employers can belong to that organization, and it can't be considered at all independent. And their one or two studies are inherently flawed in that they're, I won't go into all the technical reasons. We had experts who've done that. Our expert said, if you go to driver-only operation, what you might expect to see is an increase in the number of SPADs. You might also see an increase in the number of platform train interface issues. Well, I can report to you that although the TTC buried these statistics for several years, what we learned is that as soon as they implemented driver-only operation on a tiny 4-station line that's carries, 16,000 passengers a day, it's a very lightly used line. But as soon as they did it, there was a 50% increase in SPADs. And that was true immediately after implementation. And that number has continued in the 40 to 50% range. And we're 4 years out now. So there's just been a permanent increase in SPADs We say because what's happening is the drivers are dividing their attention, and it's a less safe condition. So, that's the stuff that's happening in the courtroom. Our problem is, especially in a pandemic, how do we make the public realize what they're about to lose, before it's too late? And that, really has been accomplished through, or we're trying to accomplish it through a social media campaign, placement of Facebook ads, Twitter, etc. One of the things that, when I got this case, basically the TTC lawyers said everybody else is doing this, and it's got to be okay. If everyone else is doing it, it's okay. Now, I have to admit, I remember that argument. That's the argument I deployed as a teenager, and it's the argument that my teenagers deploy. It's got to be okay, everyone's doing it. And I know, that was a little daunting as a lawyer, a little daunting at the beginning, because you realize, I've traveled, I know that there is DOO all over the place. So one of the things that we really focused on was trying to present to the arbitrator realistic situations where the guard would make a crucial difference. And what we quickly realized is that there are a lot of cases, a lot of situations where the guard has made a huge difference, whether that's finding a lost child, stopping a trap and drag, or spotting a horrific collision that was about to happen and stopping it from happening. And we sort of laid these out at the beginning of our case as possibilities, but the problem is it sounded an awful lot like scare stories, right? Yeah, what if, what if, what if, what if? But in the real world, does any of this actually matter? And what I've discovered over the time, working with the members, and the real critical piece here was to have the members feed us information. When they stop the trap and drag, there's no record of that. The TTC doesn't track it. Nobody will know about it unless the member tells us. If the member tells us, then we can start going and getting the information. I want to show you now a couple of videos that come out of situations where a member or a health and safety rep has said, hey, this happened on our line yesterday. If there hadn't been a guard, this could have been a disaster. And I'll just show a couple of quick clips. Okay, so here's one of them. This is a variation on trap and drag. This fellow thought it would be a good idea. I mean, we think he thought it would be a good idea to keep the train at the station by throwing his bag into the doorway to stop the doors from closing, but he miscalculated and the doors closed. You get the idea on that one, and here's the point. With a driver-only operation, that was a two-person crewed train. The guard detected what happened and was able to hit. Our guards have the ability to hit a stop. They can stop the train themselves. So the guard detected the situation, was able to stop the train. It's not really shown in that image, but I know some of your tunnels, I think, are so small that you actually could not have a person walking in the tunnel. Train is in the tunnel. On our underground, our tunnels are big enough that you can actually have crews and people working in the tunnel, or unauthorized people at track level. But we have gates at the end of the platform. Had that train kept going, that individual would have been smashed into the gates and killed. So that was a classic example of a trap and drag. If that hadn't been spotted, if we hadn't been told by our member, we would have had no idea that that had happened. I would have had no evidence to show the employer or show the arbitrator. It's not a theory that a bag can get caught in those doors. It happens. At the beginning of my case, the TTC ran all sorts of evidence that, if the gap is more than 2 millimeters, then the train can't move. It's impossible. You can't get trapped. You can't get dragged. And what we can see is that's not true. I want to show you now one for the gap. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So you sort of get the idea. that's only a short part of a longer video. In the longer video, she's caught basically up to her crotch and she's stuck and she can't move. It took about 10 or 15 minutes to get people there who could get her out. Had that train moved off, she obviously would have been killed. And the scary part here is that you know, I'm also a pilot. I have a private pilot's license, and we talk about the critical phases of flight, which are takeoff and landing. Well, on a train, one of the critical phases is the dispatch. You've really only got a few seconds. If things go badly, it goes very badly. Our employer is desperately trying to get DOO running on our main lines, our busy lines, before the arbitrator can render his decision. So they're now racing to try to get driver-only operation running on our main line. I'm going to show you now a video taken from train cameras on the main line last July. And had this happened this July, coming based on what the TTC is planning, there would have been a huge tragedy. So bear with me while I just pull up. What you're seeing here are the camera views from two trains. The bottom view is a train that has been parked in a pocket track. And you guys may have a different word for it, I don't know. But a pocket track is somewhere where that will sit between two lines. So you can park the train in the pocket track, and you can switch whether you're running on the northbound track or running on the southbound track. So it's a way of turning a train around. So a train has been parked on that track because it's going to join the opposite track that it had been running on. The top view that you're seeing, that's a train sitting at a train station immediately south of where this pocket track is. And it's the line, if you look at the bottom image, you'll see that there's two sets of rails, one going to the left, one going to the right. The rail on the right is going to lead to the train track that you see in the top view. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play. You should see on the top image, you should see a green light in the image in the top right hand corner. That light will flash, and that's going to tell the train on the top that it's safe to move. All right, so you see the train on the top track is moving. You will have seen that the train in the pocket track is also moving, and they're about to collide. Right, that is the TTC's automatic train control system, hard at work. The driver of the train in the top track never had a chance. I mean, these trains did not collide. They stopped in the nick of time. The driver on the top train could never see the train in the pocket track, would never have had a view of that train, had no hope of seeing it. The driver in the pocket track down below, he also could not see the other train. The TTC, in their desperate attempt to get automatic train control and driver-only operation running, are running two signaling systems at the same time on a single line. There's an old block system running in part of the track. There's an ATC computer controlled system. And without getting into the technical details, let's just say there was a complete failure when neither of those signaling systems prevented these two trains from being put on the same track together. How does that fit in with the guard? I'm just going to finish this video. Someone's got their mic on and should probably mute it. There we go. I'll stop the share. So what happened is the only person who could see that there was about to be a collision was the guard on the pocket track train. The guard, because he could look behind, he could look out the rear, he could see there was a train coming up at great speed behind them, and that if the train crossed over, there would be a collision. The train on the main track was full of passengers. The guard basically was able to stop the train. Had that happened in July of 2021, there would have been a train collision. So this is real. This is not just scare stories. You guys know this, and we've got to help to make the public know that. And, you know, in my legal case, I've got to make the arbitrator know it. Both sides of this equation are important from our perspective. I've told my guys, you can't rely on lawyers and you can't rely on arbitrators to solve your problems for you. You've really got to mobilize yourselves and got to get the public on side. Alex, I've gone over a little bit, I think. I apologize for that. I hope you found what I've had to say interesting.
Ian, I mean, I really want to thank you so sincerely for this amazing presentation. I mean, you're talking to comrades here, and we really understand what you're doing and admire the way that you're going about it. Normally, with a visiting speaker, we'd be able to take you out to a pub, take you for something to eat, you know, present you with you know, make a presentation to you. That's not possible in these circumstances, but we're going to work with you and give you as much support as we possibly can. And I know that we've got people who work directly from the RMT in our head office who can be of assistance in your union's struggle. And I know that there's a lot of reps in this conference today who are health and safety reps and industrial representatives of RMT members, train drivers, guards, and shunters throughout the mainline and metro rail systems in this country. And we will find people who can be of assistance to you when you need them. And we hope that we can invite you over and meet up with you and thank you properly one day soon, as soon as this pandemic is under some sort of control. So I just want to thank you on behalf of the 30th National Conference of Train Crews and Shunting Grades of the RMT. Look forward to working with you in the future. Wish you great success in your campaign, legal campaign, and also please convey our admiration to your members for the stand that they're taking and our solidarity as well.
Thank you very much, everyone, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Ian.